If you are in any residential part of Gurgaon and you're afraid that when your child is crossing the street, when your parents are crossing the street, when you're crossing the street, or your people who work with you are crossing the street, there's a danger. The way to really experience a city is to walk. If you really want to see the difference of how a city can be, just go out on a Sunday morning when the cars have yet not come out, and you will just experience a very different city. It's a more pleasant, it's more quiet, it's more natural. There's this very simple saying, but I really like it, that birds fly, fish swim, and humans walk. It's really a key part of our basic instinct. So when you have a city that's actually going to be dense and grow, and you need a city that's really based on public transport. Every person who takes public transport is probably walking some part of the journey. So even to make public transport work, you need to have walkability. Now, if you don't have space to walk, and sometimes it's not just the space to walk, it's that you're walking on the pavement and there's somebody honking the horn next to you, or you can walk on the pavement but you can't cross the road, or there's a car parked on the pavement. In so many ways, it's a hostile environment to walkers. The underpass, the flyover is catering to the people who are well off and they can afford the car and they want, signal-free corridors, and all they see is the jam. They just hate to have anyone cross their path. But they don't realize that their own children, if they come on a school bus, they will have to cross the road at either in the morning or in the evening. One of the times they have to cross the road to get to where they have to get to. And when it comes down to even dropping the child to school, and there's a school very close to where I live, and it's barely 500 meters away. But a lot of people will take their car because it's unsafe to walk those 500 meters. A car occupies a lot of space. Maybe 200, 300 square feet. There is not enough space in the city for everyone to have a car. As more and more people can afford cars, they want to bring these cars onto the streets. So there is no way in which a car-centric model can work. We say, people will cross the road anywhere, right? But it's because there's no other place for them to cross. They're not idiots. They are just being forced to cross wherever they are crossing, right? So I think that by and large, the responsibility of those who are designing those streets and building those streets, and they have to make sure that there's enough place to cross the streets and to walk across, safely and conveniently. Even if you're walking with a child or walking with an adult, imagine someone with a wheelchair crossing a street in Gurgaon. It's impossible. It's completely impossible. Buildings you say wheelchair accessible, etc. But what about the streets? It's natural for us to miss the cycles on the street, for example. I mean, if you look at Golf Course Road, you will not see it easily because a cycle is a small thing, it's dark, it's not like a fancy, large car that's going on the road. But you will see there are many, many cycles on the roads in the morning and the evening, right? So you tend to miss it, right? But once you start to see from that lens, man, they expect them to walk a kilometer and then walk a kilometer back. Is that real? There's no way to cross the streets like for hundreds of meters on either end. When you're building a highway, you have to think of someone who just wants to cross the street and how much is the feasible distance for them to walk before they have a safe crossing. I don't think it can be more than a couple of minutes, right? Because beyond that, you are really tempting them to run across the street or something like that. And that's both dangerous and you see all this ugly fencing which people put up to prevent people from crossing the street. It's ridiculous. On one hand, you have not allowed them a safe passage. On the other hand, you keep putting up higher and higher and higher fencing to not allow them a way to cross the street. I think it starts with seeing. It starts with looking out and identifying these poor design choices and this class thing of ignoring the person who has to walk or cycling or taking public transport. and try to have a vision for being a country like Scandinavia or the UK or wherever, where even the Prime Minister will take public transport. So I think there's a huge amount of that we can do to make our cities more walkable and to really prioritize walking, cycling, public transport. We first tried to work with the government to demonstrate what that really means. So in Udyog Vihar, there was this 2.5 kilometers of road called Sanath Road, which was actually fell between two jurisdictions. So it was mostly just concretized by the local industries. It was a complete mess. So we actually ended up working with GMDA and lots of other government agencies and partnering with Maruti Suzuki to actually build out that road on a model street basis. The idea was that in order to have a good flow of traffic, what you need is to segregate the different modes of transport. So people are not walking on the street itself, they're walking on the sideways, the bicycles are on the sideways. And so you just get the flow of traffic while still building a fantastic area. And I get goosebumps when I see a villager from the nearby Sarhal village. Sometimes they take the children out on a walk. So it's like a park with nice shady trees and so on. So we saved about 300 trees from being cut. We are planting another several hundred trees. It solves the several things at once. It solves things that are important for the CAQM like dust, encouraging walkability, cyclability, public transport, and also it helps solve for waterlogging, whether it's the drains or the bioswales. Key insight to Sanath Road is that you have to design the street meter by meter, not just as a cross section, but along the length, because if you design a street meter by meter, you can make sure that all the entrances and all the exits, they come out in a proper way. And there's some extra effort to put in at the beginning, but it can really yield a lot later for air quality, for energy sufficiency, for better health, because when you walk, you're always exercising yourself. For so many reasons, walkability is a very important aspect. Now being held up as a model for the NCR, so let's see how far it can be adopted. The second level is where the people who are driving or being driven, they need to make sure that they should be kind and graceful towards people who are vulnerable, right? So whether they're walking or cycling. So when I say Sadak Sabhyata, it's about making courtesy to the walker and the cyclist, not just something nice, but something that's aspirational and classy. It takes a generation, but you have to just keep at it. And my only hope is that when I'm really old or when my children have their kids, they can actually walk safely in the city. And I think it's possible. I think we will get there.